Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to give you the detailed review for the Caran Neocolor I wax pastels or crayons. I'm going to show you how they perform, and I'm also going to show you some of the mixed media sketches that I have created with these crayons. Now you may remember an earlier video where I was messing around with the crayons. Well, that video wasn't that great. Hopefully in this full review, I can show you the true potential of these crayons. There are two versions of Neocolor. Neocolor I is water resistant. For example, if you apply watercolor over the crayons will actually repel the water. But that doesn't mean you cannot use these crayons with watercolor. I'll show you later on. This is Neocolor II, which is water soluble. Now I'm going to make a separate video just for this. Today we will focus on Neocolor I. These crayons are made in Switzerland by Caran. This particular box set has 15 colors. You can find box sets with 10, 15, 30, 40 and up to 84 colors. Now when you buy a box set, the cost of each individual color, it's around US $1.5 to $2. If you buy the individual colors on their own, it's slightly more than $2. If you are starting out with crayons, it makes more economic sense to buy a box set so that you can get like a good number of colors and you don't have to spend that much compared to buying individual colors separately. This box now belongs to my daughter. You can see all the broken pieces. This is my new box that I just purchased. Now, the crayons actually are quite solid, quite hardy. They don't break so easily. All these were broken by my daughter, like she actually went to break them, but they are still very usable, of course. Different packaging, by the way. Let's take a look at what we have here. It says here Neocolor I permanent wax pastel. Permanent may not mean the color is light fast. However, Caran did mention that the colors are light fast. Permanent sometimes can mean when you apply the color on a surface, the color is permanently attached to the surface, making it very difficult to remove the color. So that can be considered permanent. However, permanent colors can still fade if the pigment is not light fast. In this video, I am not going to be able to talk about the light fast quality because I did not do any light fast tests. So we have these arrows here. These are actually little pull tabs where you can pull to remove the paper, the label of the crayon. So when the crayon gets shorter, you can just pull off all this label. That's the product code. Diameter for the crayons are slightly larger compared to a typical color pencil. Each crayon is 10 centimeters, and when you have the crayons inside the box like this, it's very compact, easy to bring around. This box set with 15 colors is noticeably smaller compared to an A5 size sketchbook. If you get the box with 30 colors, obviously it's going to be much bigger compared to this sketchbook that I have here. Alright, let's swatch out the colors. This is cold pressed watercolor paper with lots of texture, as you can see. So this is the yellow. And this is the orange. Let's try and press hard to see if we can cover the white of the paper. It is very difficult to cover the paper completely. So it's actually better to use the crayons on smoother paper. So this paper that I'm drawing on right now is hot press watercolor paper with much smoother surface, and here you can see I can cover the paper very easily. The wax pastels don't create much crumbs on the paper, which is nice. They apply very smoothly on the paper, And there is this nice tactile feeling when you are drawing. These are the 15 colors in my set. The white color is actually here, but you probably cannot see it. Anyway, the colors, they are really vibrant. I wasn't able to find any pigment information on Caran d'Ache website and elsewhere online, so I have no idea what were the pigments used to create these crayons, but obviously they are very pigmented. And because I don't know the pigment information, I can't tell whether or not the colors are supposed to be light fast. Now, to test for light fast quality, you have to do your own test. The crayons can be considered matte. Even if you use the crayons in concentration, the finishing still appears matte. So there is no gloss or semi-gloss. Let's see how permanent they are. I'm going to run my finger over this and I can pick up some of the pigment, but I would consider this to be quite permanent. And now let's see what happens when you overlay colors on top of each other. This is vermilion. This is scarlet. Now this paper I'm using, it's fine grain paper. Let's have light blue. You can certainly see some overlaying effects, but it's not that obvious. I'm going to apply the crayon with very light pressure and try to blend the colors more closely. This is orange. This is vermilion. And this is scarlet. Let's have orange over vermilion. How well the colors can blend probably depends a lot on your technique as well. If you want to use the crayons in a sketchbook, I do recommend you use fixative to fix the pigments onto the page. Make sure to get the right fixative. This one is for pastel, charcoal, and pencil. Using the fixative will prevent the pigment from going onto the opposite page when you close your sketchbook. Now, if you are using the crayons outdoors and you don't want to bring this around, you can use a piece of tissue to basically protect the opposite page before you close your sketchbook. And now let's draw something really quickly. I'm going to draw a boat and use the crayon to color some parts of this boat, and then apply watercolor over the crayon to see how the crayon, the wax pastels, react to water. For this part here, I'm going to use this yellow crayon, and we have the red crayon. I'm going to use colored pencils to draw some lines because crayons are thick. They are not that great for drawing thin lines like this. Next, I'm going to use this color. This looks like yellow ochre to me. Let's go back to the pencil. And now let's paint. So this paper is hot press watercolor paper as well. Let's see what happens when I have water over the wax. Notice how the wax repels the water. I'm going to use this same color to paint over this area. So you can see the wax pastel, it's doing a pretty good job repelling the water. So I can color all these little shapes very easily. Alright, let me just color over this area here using the wax pastel again. Now, if the surface is wet, it seems like the wax pastel will not be able to go on top of the wet surface. Let's draw a float here using the crayon. And now I want to add some white markings on this float. Doesn't work here. Let me try white colored pencils. Doesn't work as well. And you can see the brown lines beneath the red. So it seems like this float is a bit transparent, which should not be the case. Anyway, what I want to say is Neocolor wax pastels, they are not opaque. This is white gel pen. Doesn't work that well, but I can still get some white gel on top. This is almost dry now. I want to add some details here. So you can see as I apply over the darker area here, the red is not opaque enough to cover the watercolor. Just for comparison purposes, this is Uniposca opaque marker. So you can see it works really nicely over this area. It's very opaque. You can definitely paint this whole sketch with watercolor. However, it will be quite challenging to paint thin lines like this or tiny areas like this with watercolor. So using the water-resistant wax pastel, it makes it so much easier to draw this area here. Let's take a look at some examples of mixed media sketches I have drawn using the Caran Neocolor I. So this scene is familiar because it's the same scene that I have drawn in an earlier video, but this time I've redrawn this using pencil, watercolor, and wax pastels. The roofs were colored with wax pastels, and you can see the direction of how I applied the wax pastels. So this one is in this direction, whereas this one is in this direction. And the roofs, they were made with tile, so it seems appropriate to use a textured dry medium to color the roofs. This shadow area here, this is also wax pastel. I colored this whole area first before I used the pencil to draw this lamppost. You may see some color variation within because I've used orange, maybe some yellow and vermilion to color the roofs. Here on the ground, I have colored this area with wax pastel, and then I use graphite pencil to draw the gate in front. Let's move on to the right side. That's wax pastel as well. And for the greenery in the background, this is probably colored pencils because as I run my finger over it, I don't feel the waxy surface. As for the tree here at the top, this was colored with wax pastels. So it can be very difficult to tell the difference between colored pencil and wax pastels. But generally speaking, I use colored pencils whenever I need to draw fine lines or details. I use wax pastels or crayons when I need to cover over a much larger area. Here's a close-up of how I drew this tree. It's actually a mix of a lot of different colors, but mostly the light green, this green, and this darker green. I added some magenta and some red for visual interest. That's the tree trunk. Here's another sketch that I redrew. The original sketch was drawn with pen, ink, and watercolor. This was drawn with pencil, watercolor, and the Neocolor wax pastels. The bollards here were drawn with wax pastels here. So you can see the colors, they are really very vibrant and they work really well. I mean, the colors, they work really well with watercolor. This was drawn probably with wax pastels as well. I cannot remember exactly. It's either wax pastels or colored pencils. Wax pastels here. And at the top here, this is wax pastels. The line art was drawn first and wax pastels applied later on. And you can see this is definitely not opaque enough to cover the lines beneath. Alright, to conclude, the quality for the Caran d'Ache Neocolor I wax pastels is top notch. The colors are very vibrant. I really enjoy using them. These are great for creating mixed media art and they work surprisingly well on watercolor. One thing to note is they do work better on smoother paper so that you can cover the paper much better with these crayons. And these are great for introducing textures into your art. I mean, when you use this on your art, you can create textures instantly. These are not terribly expensive, so for the quality you get, they are definitely worth the money. If you are interested to get them, you can check out some of the affiliate links that I have for you in the video description below. Thanks for watching. I hope this review is helpful. See you guys in the next video. Bye!